Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today I hope to be the last video for this Honda CL350 barn find project, and that is doing stuff inside the engine. Let's get started. So I now know that I can do this and this and the bike will run. I have tuned it so the idle appears to be where it needs to be and all that stuff, but if you listen, it's kind of a ticky engine, kind of has a chatter to it. So for the first time since I bought it, I think I put just shy of 2,000 miles on it. This was years ago, as anyone following this series would know. But I've never done the points adjustment, the cam chain adjustment, and the valve adjustment. So we will be doing that today. A lot of this I will be referencing our Common Motor. He has a YouTube channel on the YouTubes. The first thing we have to do is get into here. This is where the rotor is. This is a hammer screwdriver. Essentially, you'll line it up, you'll twist it in the direction you want it to go, and if you need to, I have already popped these free, but if you need to, you can use a negotiator, tap the back, which is why you can tell this is kind of mushroomed out. Give it a couple taps and the linear force of hammering forward will be converted into a rotational force, and you're much less likely to strip out any screws that have the possibility of stripping out. So if you need one, go ahead and get one. I did use it on this one just on the off chance. They're very large Phillips head screws, so I wanted to go ahead and give it its best shot, being it's 54 years old. Let me go ahead and pop that off. So with that rotor cover off, you can see there's just the 3 screws on the back side, a little bit of oil. And I would suggest to you to go ahead and put a catch pan down because we do have a little bit of oil. Maybe a shot glass full, it's not very much at all. We did go and get paper towels because we were dealing with oil, and we did get that umbrella that using the force apparently will bring it to me. That is from Dollar Tree. It saves me on hot days like today to be able to put up a shade, and you can slide it right through your not hot exhaust. You got a pretty nice shaded area to work. So what we're going to be doing is, first thing is adjusting the cam chain, then the valve timing, then the points. So from what I've read, and correct me in the comments if I am wrong, we have this guy right here. We have a upright stovepipe. Will you focus? Yes, you will. And then we have the back section there. Apparently that's a spring-loaded plunger that we just need to set the engine to the correct timing, and then we can go ahead and adjust it. By adjusting it, from what I've read and what I understand, you're releasing that plunger to re-engage and reapply tension to that timing chain. So you're not adjusting anything, you're allowing the plunger to do what it needs to do. In order to do that, I need to be on the compression stroke on this left side, apparently. I don't really care for that. Interesting. Oh, that's part of the O-ring. These have O-rings, some of them in better condition than others. This one you can see is pretty dorked up. So it's just remnants from that. But while you're in here, do inspect and take a look-see. So we have left fire and left top dead center, and then we have right fire and right top dead center. My understanding is in between here and here, top and top, 90 degrees, about where we're lined up, as it turns out. I want to make sure I'm on the compression stroke on this side. So what I'm going to be doing is pulling the spark plug, put my thumb over it, and just wobble this maybe 10-20 degrees. If I can feel my thumb being sucked and popped off, then I know that then I know that my left side piston is on the way up during a compression stroke, and then we can go ahead and allow the tensioner to do its thing. So let me go ahead and see what that looks like. To remove the spark plug, you will need a 21 millimeter, and to rotate the rotor, you're going to need a 14 millimeter. You will notice there is a direction of rotation indicator. On this side, it's going to be counterclockwise. The other side, I would imagine, would be clockwise. But you do want to continue rotating it this way. And we are in between fire and fire, and just a little bit past this 1-2G mark. And that's going to get us close enough to allow us to remove tension on that. In order to do that, apparently, I will need a 10 and a 12, and I will need to be on the other side. With my 10 and 12 on the other side, I'm going to start with the 12 to loosen up the bottom nut. That is a locking nut. And then I will rotate the 10 millimeter top side. We should possibly, maybe, hopefully, hear a click as things start working. So I'm going to back off the 12. That was on there pretty good. Maybe a little too good. All right. So we're just going to rotate that. Maybe a full rotation. And now I can get in there with my hand. Okay. So that's nice and loose. Now with our 10, I'm going to try and get on top. And I'm going to be quiet so we together can hear what it does. That's on there really good. Okay. All right, so after the third ratchet, you heard it thunk. It was very dim, very quiet, but that's apparently all we need. So let's go ahead and seat it back up. So what we need to do is not the 12, we're going to use the 10, and we're going to just snug the 10, the main bolts, not the nut, until we feel the least slightest bit of resistance, which is right there. So we re-tightened it back into place. You don't want to leave it loose. And then we're going to use the 12 with a little bit more backdraw resistance, for which I will need my other hand. But you do want to make the 10 top bolt reseat and just barely make contact with what is touching in there, and then lock it into place with the 12. So now that we've adjusted the cam chain tensioner, the next thing we have to do is get in here to adjust the valve. So let's pop it. Again, standard Phillips if you need it, but since I have the negotiator out, I'll be doing that to make sure that they come out without stripping. With the adjusters here, we're going to open there and there. It's the same shape circle on this side, pretty close. We'll see if we can do it with the tank and everything left on. We do not want to dump that stuff on the ground or scratch it up. So we're going to loosen the nut on here, and by adjusting with a flathead, the screws will be able to raise and lower, open and close the valve openings. And while we're here, is that going to be a 12? That is a 12. All right, let's loosen them up. It occurred to me before loosening these, let me make sure I can actually get into the adjusters. So this appears to be a 17. If you have a ratcheting box head, that's going to make it much easier. But because it's metric, once it pops free, it just spins freely by hand. O-ring looks good. Oil seems okay. I'm going to put this one at the front of the bike and this one at the rear of the bike. I imagine they're the same thing. We're going to inspect that. Looks all right. You're going to go here. And we have our adjusters right in there. This one's going to be easier to see. This is the adjuster arm, and we're measuring the gap in between. Now that I did that, let me pop the other side, and then we can start loosening up the adjuster. We have popped open 1, 2, 3, 4, loose, loose. Now we need to time our engine. We are working on the left side as far as the driver is concerned, so we need to be at LT. And I have the ratchet staying on here. It's kind of braced in place. You do not want this to continue to rotate around. It may, under the tension and whatever is going on with the pistons, it may attempt to move. So always make your adjustment, look down here, make sure it's correct, do your other adjustment, make sure it's correct, and then we can move on to the left side. So we need to get a feeler gauge in here and in here. And I believe it's 2/100ths of an inch here and 4/100ths of an inch. But let me go ahead and confirm before we dork things up. The last thing we're going to need today are a set of feeler gauges. And basically what this is a series of thin pieces of metal that have been calibrated to be of certain thicknesses. So we have standard up top and metric on the bottom. And as we turn it sideways, you can see some of them are substantially thinner and more flexible, wavier than thicker other pieces. So you'll get the correct size that you need, or the closest to. You can even stack them. So you can put a 0.032 and a 0.035 together, and that'll give you 0.067. Right? So you can put those together, figure it out. But let me get our correct numbers for those and I'll report back. Okay, so it is 2 and it is 4, but it's thousandths, not hundredths. So as it turns out, I have 2 feeler gauges. This one is going to be 4 thousandths and this one is 2 thousandths. And I did confirm with the metric conversion table online that it is a 1.02 millimeter for the exhaust, because it is against your exhaust, and the 0.508 millimeter for your air intake. Your air filter is here, so your air intake is actually at the back of the engine, which may be a little weird for those not in the know. So these are nice and loose, and I just need to adjust this screw a little bit and put a feeler gauge in there, and I want it to grab the gauge and be able to drag the gauge without clamping down on it. So I am going to seat it against the gauge, try sliding it back and forth. If I can move it back and forth with a little bit of dragging, aces, we're good to go. And then I will pull it out all the way and see if I can actually slip it into the groove. And that is a way to check it twice. So let's see, we'll start with this one since it's the easiest to get to and allows for the larger fitting there. Let's see what we can do. Moving to the exhaust side, we have the valve adjusting arm right there. And what I want to do is see if I can't get that under there, which so far I cannot. So I'm going to double check that everything is on the up and up, and then we're going to make our adjustments. It looks like this has not been done since I took over the bike, as I said, and we are rather tight on those clearances. So let me go ahead and futz around with 2 hands and see what it's currently sitting at, and we can see how much it needs to be changed from what it currently is. If in doubt, trust your instincts. So I went ahead and confirmed that I was on the compression stroke, which I was not. So you can now hear that that is loose, and we can feel, and I don't think you'll be able to see because the gas tube is in the way, but let me go ahead and... So I now can feel that they are loose, which means I can adjust them. So I was on the wrong, I was on the exhaust stroke, I believe. So make sure you're on the compression stroke, and it is going to want to cam over. It is going to want to turn over and allow the piston to go all the way up. So, or go past its center, because we are at top dead center there. So I have the wrench held in place up against the bike, and that's going to prevent it from camming over. After much deliberation, again, trust your judgment, I was using a 0.02, which would be 2/100ths, not 2 thousandths. So a 0.002 is for the rear, and a 0.004 will drag along the front. So we are set on the left side. Now, instead of LT, we're going to switch it to RT, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the driver right-hand side. Okay, so we completed the right-hand driver side, and here's 2 tips for you. One, inside this thing, there's no oil, there's nothing really going on, so go ahead and write your adjustments, 0.002, 0.004, now you have it. Second, since you have to pull out the spark plug to confirm that you're on the compression stroke, cover it with your finger. If you feel your finger being blown off, you know you're on the compression stroke. Go ahead and check the condition of your spark plug and clean it up with a wire brush before putting it away. I think we're good to go. Let's make sure we have 1, 2, 3 things sealed up on this side, spark plug put in, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so I think I finally got the basics figured out with this. What I'm going to be doing first is confirming a 0.3 but not a 0.4 feeler gauge will fit in there. This one is nice and large. This one is less so. They should be the same at this point. You want them in the position where they're most open, which right now the right one is closed. Okay. So I'm going to want to go ahead and make the adjustment there because that opening is not as big as that one. To do that, we're going to loosen this screw and this screw. I leave this one snug, but loose enough, maybe an 1/8 of a turn. So the plate, this plate that goes all the way around, can be negotiated, and that will allow the gap to be opened, which I just confirmed on this side. So let's see what that looks like. The babies are coming along nice. So we have this one undone about a 1/8 of a turn, this one a little bit more so. And basically what we can do is by putting our screwdriver in here, this notch right there, and leveraging it against this nub, we can open and close that plate, which will open and close the gap timing. So that closes, and that should open. Okay. And then I want to get a feeler gauge, and I want the 0.3 to pass, which it is. And I want the 0.4 to fail. This is a 0.38, it's the closest I have. And I cannot, I have to force the spring open to get it to pass. So we are now good there. I'm going to tighten these up. One, two. This is with the ignition and all power off, you'll notice. Okay, the next thing we have to do is adjust the timing for here and the light on a test light. So I believe the entire back plate, the whole speckled thing all the way around here, can be moved by doing the same leveraging system but inside here. So we can leverage. We have the opening of the points. Now we need to time when they're going to fire. To do that, I want to make sure I'm on the compression stroke of the left side first. And basically, I'll show you. But as you rock it in front of the LF, the light will go off. Behind the LF, the light will come, well, at the line, the light will come on. So I will show you that. But first, let's get all the electronics out of the way, and let's make sure that we have this set to LF, left fire, on the compression stroke. So I wanted to show you guys, again, the LF mark is about 11 o'clock right now. I want it lined up with our timing notch on the rotor, which is dead center there. Can't really get the camera to focus, but bear with me. So you'll notice the timing light is off. As I approach LF, right there, my light just turned on. Off, on. Off, on. So I am firing very, very early. I want that light to fire only here. Again, if I roll the wrench back, I'm making the engine go backwards. And there's when the light went out. So I need to adjust that timing plate behind the point to make that fire correctly. What I intend to do, and what I've seen on previous videos, is if you set it here to have the light just turn on, you'll be very close to getting it actually firing with the line in line with that notch. So let me go ahead and make some adjustments. I will cut back and show you better what I'm talking about. Okay, so by loosening this guy and this guy, this plate will rotate, and you'll notice based on this notch prior, it was shifted probably 5-10 degrees past where it is right now. So I did have to move that plate. What I can show you now is past LF, left fire, my test light is off. Okay. As I rotate in line with left fire, right there, I am dead on lined up with left fire and my light being on. If I turn it before LF, it now turned off. Dead on. Dead on. So we have adjusted the points spacing. We have adjusted the firing timing, which probably explains, we're going to kill the ignition before we do that, probably explains why she was difficult to turn over, cranking for a while versus firing right up. So I think that's about what we got. I'm going to tighten all the things in here. I'm going to button her up, and we're going to hear what she sounds like now and pray that she doesn't fall apart or explode. Learning is fun and messy. So we have everything buttoned back up. Gas is set to flow. Let's see what we got. Huh. I don't think my neutral light was on before. Ha 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 ha! Much quieter. Alright, so my idle is set too high, which we figured. I adjusted the idle before I adjusted all the cam, now that you can hear me. I adjusted the idle on an engine that had not been adjusted yet. So I was compensating, I was fixing the symptom, not giving it the cure. So, before the rains hit, we're going to go ahead and redial in the idle. To do that, we're going to unscrew a spark plug, ground it against the engine, and we will be adjusting the carb on that side. So let me do that. With the spark plug pulled and just wedged right into this opening, we now will not have firing on this side, right? Which means the only idle we get is going to be the left-hand side. So what we're going to do is clean this shit out of the way. And then we are going after this screw. So that is the idler screw. You've seen before previously in this series, as I did this, I could idle the one side. That's how I knew my right side wasn't firing. When I flipped it, it wouldn't blip. On this side, it bam, 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 bam. That was bam, 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 by the way. So now it's too far out. I'm going to unscrew it until my RPMs settle at around, I believe it's 1200 RPMs. And then we're going to do it to the other side as well. After making those adjustments, she's puttering. Ironically, it's almost like my right cylinder is working correctly and my left one is not. We have a little bit of white smoke, so it could be gas or something, oil, sorry. But the exhaust feels cooler to the touch on the driver's left-hand side. So that'll be something I'll need to dork with. Did just drain the carb, which was the same solution for the right side. Confirmed to have spark on both sides. So, don't know, but we're going to let it idle for a bit. Might even take it for a ride. Hey. But it seems to be running much smoother, and the chatter is still there, but it is less so. And I stand on this and the thing starts. Before I had to kick it 2, 3, 4 times and kick it like a mule. So we'll charge it back up. We'll test the air pressure in the tires. We'll let it idle for a bit. And once I get back from a ride, I'll be able to know that the engine is up to temperature, everything is functioning as it should or shouldn't be, and I can further adjust the idle from there. But it is better, and I am very happy. That's the first time I've been inside of an engine, and hopefully that helps you for the next time you need to be inside yours. So, as always, this is outside the target demographic. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Any questions, comments, concerns you have, leave them in the comments section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.